Hi, I'm Ursula and I'm the technical lead for the CoderDojo Foundation. It's an organisation set up to help fund the growth of CoderDojo around the world. We employ six people full-time in Dogpatch Labs over in the CHQ building. So today I'm just going to show you the new system that we built over the summer. It's really for administration of dojos, and it's to help the community run their dojos around the world. I'm going to give you an overview of where we're going to take it next and give you a brief on how you can help. And I know most people here are technical, but you don't have to be technical to help out. So this is the map page. This is like the home page. We had a map page before, but this is slightly different. It just had a little bit of a redesign. This is searching for a dojo, so this is searching for the Wexford town CoderDojo. And there's an addition of a pop-up here. We didn't have that before. Eventually we want to have a logo in there as well, and like a little blurb about the dojo. This is my dojo's page, so this is what the founder of a dojo will see if they log in. This is where they can manage their events and their listing. So this is the events page itself, and we're redoing this at the moment. This is the create event page. So this is the new system, which isn't live yet, so you're getting a sneak peek of this. It's kind of a little bit like Eventbrite, except for you're able to segment tickets by under 13s, ninjas, parents. Ninjas are like under 13s or children, and then parents can attach tickets to the ninjas account, so they can log in and book tickets for their kids. So it's a little bit more CoderDojo specific, and then you can invite multiple people there as well. So this is how the new system will work as well. You'll be logged in as a parent, and then you can book a ticket for yourself and your kid. This is what it looks like when you're managing an event. So this is like by different room. You might have a room for Scratch and a room for HTML. This is an expanded view of that. So you're able to approve tickets in here and check in ninjas and parents. And then this is the Manage Dojo Users page. So this is where you can give people permission to do different things, like help you manage the dojo, help you manage events. You can also award Mozilla Open Badges here. So that's just the awarding of a badge. And this is the badges page itself. There's 3 different sections at the moment, but we're hoping to expand this. So there's just a few that we have in there right now. We're kind of hoping that people will start using these ones to start with, and then we can make more of them. It's all based on the Mozilla Open Badges system and badge kit. That's the event section there, and you can put in the claim code as well. So in the future, when we run Coolest Project next year, we'll probably have a claim code so that you can claim to say that you've been at the Coolest Project event. This is the dojo listing page. We used to have a listing page like this before as well. It just looks a little bit different, and we have the addition of the event section. It looks a little bit better. It's using Twitter Bootstrap now. And then in the corner you can join the dojo, so you can join as a mentor, and then when you go to your profile page it shows what dojos you attend and which ones you're helping out at. So it's kind of a really cool way for you to showcase that you help kids code at various places around the world. This is what the profile looks like. So that's the profile for a champion, which is the person who runs the dojo. But if you're a mentor, you can showcase all the programming languages that you know. We'd like to redesign it. We didn't really have a designer for the project, so it's kind of just improvised at the moment. So if you know any designers who want to help with that, that would be great. This is just the view profile page. So one of the things that we worked on is how to onboard people to create a new dojo, and we have this whole new process, a 4-step process, so that it makes it easier for us in the foundation to verify that you're a real person, that you've done a number of steps before you start up the dojo. So there's first of all, there's a champion registration form, just so we know a little bit more about the champion themselves. And you can talk via intercom on this as well. Cheers. Yay, we're good. Okay. You can also flirt with Rosa. Yay. Don't do that, she's not single. This is the set up your dojo step, so this is kind of a handy way for you to see what steps you need to really do to start a dojo. You need to find a venue, you need to find technical mentors, you actually also need to find non-technical mentors. Adhere to the CoderDojo TAO, which includes the child protection policy and all that. And then you can return to this page later on if you run a dojo and just kind of go through them and see what haven't I done yet, what could I do to make my dojo comply better. And this is the dojo listing creation or edit page. We made a few improvements to the map. So this is the forum, which is built on Node.js, which is an open source system. This is the adult one. We also have one for ninjas, so ninjas over 13 can go to their own forum, which is a completely separate system. There's the ninja one. So this is just a list of the technologies used. Just to give you a quick run through most of them. We use AWS for the hosting. We have Salesforce integrated just to see where people drop out on the onboarding process. So some champions get started with set your dojo step, and we want to see how many people are getting daunted by that, so we can improve it in the future. We're also using it for automatic emails. So if you got to a certain step and then you didn't finish the step, after 28 days we'll automatically email you. We're using Intercom for obvious reasons to contact people in real time. It's been really, really useful for that. Node.js for the forums, as you saw. Log entries for logging and for statistics as well. We're using New Red for performance statistics. Badge kit for the badges section. We're using Google Maps. We're also using the Gmail API to send emails automatically. We're using AngularJS in the front end. GitHub gave us a bunch of private repositories that we were using when it was in development, and now that's all public, so it's all open source. We're using crowding for translation, so we have a really nice back and forth automatic translation integration with crowding, where community members can just have a crowding account and they change a line, and then it will automatically push to GitHub and vice versa. So when you edit something in the code base, and it automatically pushes up to crowding and says this needs to be translated again. We use Fluid UI for the new event section to do wireframes. Node.js obviously is what most of the system is built in. Postgres is what the database is. We use Seneca, the microservices toolkit for Node.js, and Karma for unit testing. So what is next? As I mentioned, improved design, improved UX. We want to add some tooltips in different sections. We're kind of back and forth with the community on feedback on how we can make it more obvious that you need to, for instance, join the dojo first before you can book a ticket. A fun 404 page, maybe something like GitHub, maybe something Star Wars related, I don't know. Integrate with Stripe so we can thank our users for donations. So via the main site you can do a Stripe donation. I guess that can integrate really well with Intercom, so it'd be great to be able to ping people after a week and say, I saw you made a donation, thank you for that. The ability to automatically upgrade under 13 profiles to an over 13 profile. So if you're under 13, you don't have your own login, but then if you have an over 13, you do, and you can go onto the forums, and we'd like to make that kind of seamless so that when you turn 13, you automatically get to do that. Award badges automatically based on event attendance. Badges per dojo. At the moment, it's just added by the foundation, so we'd love to have really specific badges, and so that each champion can go in and make their own set of badges. Per dojo avatar, a fancier map. We kind of had a version of the map that was way fancier, but it just was too much scope, so we'd love to make a fancier map. An event app for just on mobile and native events app. Improved integration with Intercom, log entries, New Red, Salesforce, the whole lot. And there's just so much more we can do with it. More specific dates, for example, the time of the event application to enable further statistics, just so that we as a foundation can go back to the board and say, well, there's X amount of people that are applying, there's X amount of people that are cancelling, and we can really see what the engagement is with CoderDojo worldwide. A local mail catcher for easy development. More unit testing, and Windows support for local development, kind of at the bottom of my list, but some people really want it. Wanted to say a huge thanks to Nearform for helping with the development of the system, and they've been really easy to work with. And Damian will be talking after this as well. So how can you help? The translation assistant, so you can join crowding, and you don't need to be technical to do that, and just translate it if you know any other language other than English. That's the base language. Testing, so every time we implement a new feature or fix a bug, I have to retest it. It's really difficult to do all that by myself, so that, yeah, you don't have to be technical really to do that either, but maybe good at problem solving. Issue management, so maybe just going through all the GitHub issues and seeing if something really is an issue, if maybe you could leave a helpful comment on it, and then obviously to contribute code. And this is the repository here, so this is the base repository. It tells you how to get it set up and everything. There's a suitable for beginners label for coders, and there's also a request for comments label if you just want to see if there's an issue, say that I wasn't sure if we wanted to implement it yet, then I will put a request for comments on it for more feedback from the community. So yes, that is my part of the presentation, and Damian is going to talk a little bit more about the architecture and the kind of nitty-gritty side of things. Thanks.
Okay, hi. So I've been involved in this project probably from the start, which I think the tender went out back in January or so, right? So it's all open source now, so I'm just going to run you through the architecture of the system, where all the code is, how to get started, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go through some of the tools we use for deployment and everything else as well. So I only have a couple of slides, and then we're just going to dip into GitHub, right? So at a very high level, right, it's JavaScript throughout the entire stack, right? Angular front end. Happy on the back end, right, and Seneca for microservices, right. We have 6 repos, right, so 6 microservices effectively. The main one is the CPZen platform. It does the UI, right, so it has all the Angular code, and it's also the Happy front end as well. So basically, there's a REST API there. It all goes through Happy. And then Happy proxies onto whatever microservice is responsible for that code. Okay. So in terms of the microservices, right, we kind of used domain-driven design, right. So each of these services is a kind of vertical domain, microservices terms, right. So we have a service for the Dojo service, so that manages everything to do with dojos. User service manages everything to do with users, right. The event service is the ticketing system, right, so it's completely isolated. The badges service does all the integration with BadgeKit, and Salesforce service does all the integration with Salesforce, right? So as I said, it's all domain-driven design. The best thing about this kind of way of doing microservices, it gives you complete isolation, right? So all of these services can be built by themselves. So built, run, and tested individually, which is great, right? In terms of the database and stuff that we use Postgres everywhere, so we've kind of 3 Postgres databases effectively. They all run on RDS, so I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also host the Mozilla BadgeKit. So BadgeKit is part of the Open Badges Alliance, right? So Mozilla did a kind of a reference proof of concept type of service, and we host that as well. Okay, so it's got a REST API. It's written in Node as well, so we need to change that to all JavaScript too. And yeah, well, I guess Salesforce is Salesforce, right? So the other parts of the stack as well are NodeDB. So Ursula mentioned we've an adult form and a Ninja form. So they're 2 completely different installations that run on AWS. They're fully isolated from each other. There's all sorts of child protection rules around adults not being able to access the child forums and all that kind of stuff as well. And then AWS, we did a huge amount of scripting on AWS, you know, all in Node, right? I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute as well. Okay, so in terms of the notable Node modules, okay, so Happy, right? We were using Express, right? But then we moved to Happy, mainly because they're in Hammer joined and we felt we should, right? So, but no, more seriously, it's a much more solid foundation, right? There's no one reason why it's better than Express. There's almost like 100 different reasons, right? We use Seneca, which is Nearform's microservices toolkit, but we've been developing this for the last few years. So there's integration with Seneca and Happy, right? It's called this Cheerio plugin, right? That's still under, it's still under kind of early development. And to be honest, it's kind of, the two frameworks are not sitting perfectly well together just yet, but we'll figure all that out in the long run, right? We do a lot with the Google APIs. We do a lot with AWS SDK, right? All those modules are fantastic. The AWS SDK for Node is really, really excellent, right? Because I think when AWS started out, you kind of were forced to use Python to use a lot of the scripting, but you can do it all in Node now. That's great. PostGrader as well for migrations, right? This is the first time I used this, and it's really great. So it's just a very simple pattern for doing your migrations in Postgres, right? So the problem with relational databases really is just keeping the schema up to date, and both in production and on people's machines and stuff like that. So what PostGrader does is just gives you a really simple pattern for doing this, right? So you start with your table definitions at the start, and then for each time there's a change to the database, it goes into its own kind of SQL file. So the changes are made iteratively. So as each service starts up, then it kind of makes sure that okay, number 1 is done, number 2 is done, number 3 is done, etc. Right? And then database is kept consistent that way. Which is all great, but if you stray from it, it gets a bit messy, right? So, but yeah, that worked out really well. The other thing that worked out great was AWS CodeDeploy, right? It's a relatively new service from Amazon. So just in terms of how we do deployments, right? All the artifacts are built on Jenkins, right? So each microservice or whatever has its own build on Jenkins. Those artifacts are pushed to S3, right? We have this component on the left called Superstack, which is our collection of AWS scripting that we did to support all this, right? That's not open source yet, it will be fairly soon, right? But Superstack knows all about the environment that you're running on AWS. Like it knows about the autoscaling groups, it knows about where all the databases are in RDS, it knows the passwords for the databases, etc. Right? So the combination of the artifacts and the environments get pushed to S3, right? Then CodeDeploy kicks in. So CodeDeploy deploys artifacts, right? So there's 3 ways of doing deployments really. You deploy your source code itself, you deploy artifacts, or you use containers, right? So CodeDeploy is great. It just takes these artifacts that are on S3. It integrates with the autoscaling groups, right? So in terms of autoscaling, we have kind of 2 base instances, and then it scales up and scales down as needs be, right? So if a new instance comes online, we have base AMI, which is the base AMI. It starts up it's the blueprint for the new instance, right? We use Cloud init then, it kicks in, it pulls down the environment and the artifacts from S3, puts them on the new instance, right? And then that instance starts up, okay? And this is all only possible because there's no state held in the web services, right? So it's purely horizontal, right? All the state is held in the databases or external services. So CodeDeploy has worked really well. We're looking forward to open sourcing the Superstack stuff at some stage as well. It's quite good. So that's it. So what are tools that you might find interesting? So we use AWS Trusted Advisor, but only the free tier. Okay, so Trusted Advisor basically is this automated service that Amazon have. It goes through all their best practices and gives you advice, right? Unfortunately, the free tier only gives you 1 or 2 pieces of advice. You have to sign up as I think business class support on AWS to get the full pack, right? And that costs a fortune, right? But yeah, even the free tier was actually quite good, right? You kind of learn a lot, right? We use SecurityMonkey, which is a tool from Netflix, right? So it basically will take your whole AWS setup and analyze it for you, go through all the security groups, make sure that all the best practices are followed in that regard. So it'll give you a list of kind of things that are red, things that are orange, and things that are green, etc. But it was really, really good, so highly recommend. We use AWS CloudTrail as well. So CloudTrail just detects, it basically logs and audits any changes that were made in AWS itself. Okay, so that's quite useful. We're using CloudWatch as well for all the logging there too, as well as log entries, which are going to go to both places at the moment. We're using New Relic, which is great. It's mainly used for monitoring and stats. I mentioned log entries already, so it's both doing the logs, but the kind of longer term plan is to get real-time stats out of it, right? So it's any real-time KPIs, so we can see how many people are on the system and all that kind of stuff in real time. And then there was a really cool tool called the Z attack. Sorry, that's a typo there. It should be attack proxy. So there's this organization called the OWASP, the Open Web something whatever, right? But they we should know this. But every year every so often they publish the top 10 vulnerabilities on websites, right? But they have a tool now that you can download and run it against your own website, right? And it was really good. And the surprising thing about it when we ran it on our site was that Happy pretty much covers the whole lot, right? We had to do very little to make it pass this attack proxy. So that was interesting. Okay, so big picture wise, right, before I start dipping into code and stuff, right, so why would you help CoderDojo, right, okay? It is open source, right, so it's all out there. It's kind of interesting to see how we've done it and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's good to be involved in open source projects, right? It's good to do kind of charity and volunteer work as well. It's good in your resume and all that kind of stuff, right? But more importantly, you have a chance to influence hundreds of thousands, if not thousands of lives, right? I mean, I mentor at our own dojo in Tremor. It's a very small dojo. There's about 45 kids on it, right? I think the dojo in Limerick is 120 kids, roughly, is it? And the biggest one is Galway, is that right? Yeah, which is about 200 kids. And the one in California has 6,000 members, is that right?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So, like, the reach here is incredible, right? So it is a chance to you know, influence kids and everything else, right? It's also a chance to help to fix the two big problems at the moment, which are gender inequality and geography, right? So if we can get CoderDojo to spread into the likes of Africa and stuff like that, right? I mean, race isn't a problem anymore, thankfully, right? So the big problems are gender inequality, really, and location. So, and CoderDojo tries to help with that, right? Those two problems. And finally, it's fun, right? So how to help then, right? So the main entry point for all of this is the community platform repo, which I'll go through in a second. We can take a look at Crowdin as well, right? For helping with localization. There's quite a few strings. There's a couple of hundreds, isn't there? 500, if not more. And then there's email templates as well that need to be localized. It's not a trivial undertaking, right? So Crowdin allows you to sign up as a translator or a verifier. So if you sign up as a translator, you can just help out with the translations, right? But what we found, so we committed to doing it in Italian. We have a lot of Italian developers, right? So and their experience was that it's quite hard to coordinate and get a consistent language, even though they all spoke English reasonably well. There's also parts of the site that are kind of legalese, like the charter and stuff like that, and they weren't entirely comfortable translating that because it's legal and might not translate that well. But by and large, I can show you Crowdin in a minute. It's actually a fantastic tool. So the way we work it is, actually let's just go over here now. Okay, so you basically go along to the Zen community platform. It gives you an overview here of all the languages that are in the process of being translated. Okay. So we see, where's Italian? Italian is 99%, right? It's normally 100%, so obviously some string changed in the platform in the last couple of days. So the way we do it is Jenkins basically does this thinking, right? So as a part of the build, it pushes up the messages.po to Crowdin, right? And the email templates and stuff and does the sync basically. So if there's anything changed there, then Crowdin will reflect it on the translation bit, which I'll show you in a minute. And then Jenkins also pulls down the latest translations from Crowdin, right? So it's fully automated. We don't do, there's no manual steps here, right? So they're pulled down and they're bundled up in the artifacts, and the artifacts are published, right? So that's how it works. So you see here, for example, like German is 22%, Italian is 99%. Pirate is 0. Anybody who's got good pirate?
All kinds of things like that.
Yeah, that was just you, isn't it? So if you click through to Italian, you get this kind of a view. So these are all the files that need to be translated, right? So we see they're all at 100% bar this one. Okay, so messages.po. So there's obviously some changes here to these strings here. Okay, so anything that's green has been translated. Anything that's red needs some work, right? So that's pretty much Crowdin. So obviously you can help out with localization, you can help out if you're a developer, right? As Ursula said as well, you can help out with documentation, testing and issues and all that kind of stuff. Or you can mentor at a dojo, right? Which is probably the most influential, the best way to be influential, right? Or you can contribute content to Kata, right? So Kata is the Wikipedia style site that, for CoderDojo. So there's loads of content up there that I like to teach stuff for kids. But let's run through the community platform stuff really quickly. Right? That's the website itself. So this is the main community platform repo, right? So we use this platform for kind of a landing site, I guess, right? Also, all the issues across all the services are tracked in here. Right? We don't track them in individual services. In terms of how this is run as an open source project, we ran it as an open source project from the start, even though the repos are private. Okay. We took a lot of inspiration about how to run it from the IO.js community. Okay, so it's an incredibly well-run community, right? Including the suitable for beginner tag. If you go to the main Node repos now, they have kind of tags like this, and they'll mentor people through beginner issues and stuff. Also, our what do you call it? Our contributing guidelines and stuff are pretty much copy and pasted from the Node community as well. So in terms of, you don't see much when you land here, okay? But the most important bit, if you're a developer, is there's instructions for, we have this local dev repo, right? So let me just go in there. So this repo, what it does is it just allows you to get set up really quickly, okay? So it goes through all the tools you need. You mainly need Node and Postgres, right? How to clone this repo, okay? And then you basically run the init command, right? And what the init command does then is it goes and it clones the 6 other repositories that you need, puts them into a local workspace directory, runs npm install, okay, and it also runs all the setup scripts for Postgres and everything like that, right? So after you do an npm init and then you do an npm run, you have a bare bones system, right? So this is what it does exactly. So it creates a workspace N directory, okay, installs all the services, npm install, connects to Postgres, okay. So the local dev runs in, then that starts all the services, right? So it's kind of like this. Okay, so that's the init command. So you just do local dev init in, right? Local dev runs in. Okay. So that pretty much just starts up. We need to get rid of the warnings, right? But that pretty much starts up the 6 or so services. And then I should be able to go to host 8000, okay? That's your setup now for development, right? And it does file watching as well. So if you make a change on any file here or whatever, it detects which services changed and goes and restarts and stuff, right? So it's just a really handy way of doing development. Because without this, we'd have to have like separate install instructions for each repository, and we'd have to run all the terminals and all that kind of stuff, right? So. Okay, yeah, and then the other thing it does as well is it seeds test data into repositories, so you have test data from the off. And it gives you a manager at example.com which has full CDF admin permissions, right? So there's various levels of permissions in the system. CDF admin is for the admin guys, right? The CoderDojo Foundation staff, so like super users basically. Then there's kind of champion permissions, so if you're a champion in the dojo, you have various rights and stuff that normal users can't do. Same with mentors. You can be a ticketing admin as well, which if you're a volunteer in the dojo, you can just, the champion can give you the ticketing privileges, so you can just manage ticketing, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Local dev stuff, environment variables. And that's that, right? So all of the repositories then, let me see, there's a couple of more bits and pieces here. There's an architecture document, right, which is pretty much my slide from earlier. This links off then to all the individual repositories. Okay, so CPZen platform again is the main one, the one at the top here, which is the combination of Angular and Happy. Okay, it's by far got the most amount of code in there, right? And then we have the CD events, CD badges, Salesforce, etc. So all of these services are Seneca-based services, okay? And there's Seneca plugins then that do the actual real work, right? So there's a Seneca plugin for Postgres that does the persistence of Postgres. We don't have to use Seneca in the batch kit service at all, actually. We didn't bother with that, right? And there's a Seneca plugin for Salesforce as well, which is great, right? So Salesforce little bit challenging to work with, right? It's got its own SQL-like language, right? So it's got a combination of REST APIs, which they call Apex, and kind of an SQL type language, right? But the plugin for Seneca kind of abstracts an awful lot of that, right? So it's great. And then the external services, which we talked about already. So we've NodeBB. So we've taken the base NodeBB and we've done a couple of things to it, right? So NodeBB is written in Node. All its plugins are written in Node as well, right? There's plugins for absolutely everything for it, right? So if we think we need to make changes to the form, we can just create a new plugin to do X, Y, and Z. So in terms of what we did, we took we copied the base theming plugin, right, and we skinned it to make it look like CoderDojo. We also do single sign-on, right? So when you sign into NodeBB, if you go to if you hit the site and you're not authenticated, it will authenticate you against the main Zen platform, right? So that was another plugin that we did. And there's also a plugin that we did for updating your profile. So if you update your profile on the main Zen website, it automatically gets updated in NodeBB. Okay. So yeah, NodeBB is great. It's really good. Very vibrant community and all that. Google Apps, Gmail, Google Maps. We're using Google reCAPTCHA as well. Okay, so there's quite a few parts of the Google API used. Salesforce I've already talked about. Intercom we've already talked about. New Ready we've already talked about. Gremlin we talked about. Basket we talked about. And MailTrap just for email testing, which is great. Right? So instead of sending, so what MailTrap does is just it captures all your emails basically. Right? So you send out emails as normal, but you go to the MailTrap site then to see what they look like and stuff. Right? So it just stops them going any further, which is fantastic. Yeah. So again, the main place for getting started is this CoderDojo community platform repo. I'll tweet that out.
Just on the local dev for badges and forms.
Oh yeah, so if you're doing the local dev stuff, right, we don't set up the badges and the forms. There's separate instructions for those. So unless you're actually changing the forms or writing plugins or stuff like that, you don't really need it, right? And likewise on BadgeKit, unless you really want to work on the badges, you don't need that either. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. Is there any questions? There's no pizza yet. And I'm done.
We didn't use any cache servers.
We didn't need it so far, yeah. But when we do, we'll just plug it in. There's a Seneca Redis plugin that we'll just plug in there, Yeah. So there's client content caching done automatically and happy. Yeah. But there's no server-side caching. Right? It's the way. So.
Do you use any ninjas for retro code?
Yeah, well, that'll be a goal, right?
I thought that was it, right?
Yeah.
They would take it for the community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess in terms of the big picture here, right? So this is kind of the end of phase one, where we've written this. We've tried to provide a very good platform to see it into the future, right? The next phase is to try and build a community around it, which is going to be interesting, right? And I guess if that's successful, the next phase after that is to get other charities to use it and other organizations and things. So, not just CoderDojo.
Sorry, one question. I see you were using different Postgres instances for dojos and users.
Yeah.
How do you manage to do joins between them, or?
Yeah, there's no joins, right? So it's done kind of at the Seneca level, right? So if you need to get a user, we still say, for example, in the dojos, we'd store user ID. Right? If we want that, then in the dojo service, for example, we just make them put a message on the Seneca bus. It goes and gets it from the user service and comes back that way. Okay. Yeah.
How do you manage the localization internally of the application? Like, how do you, obviously, you got different strings in different languages.
Yeah.
How do you know you're mapping in or what?
There's an ng translate component that we're using. That does the majority of the heavy lifting.
Why do you name that kind of thing, or something like that?
No, I think it's just that. Well, yeah, I mean, I18N is a standard, obviously, but the ng translate, I'm not entirely sure what it uses internally, to be honest, right? So
You're one of those.
It's the Angular one,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And then for the email templates on the back end, we literally just see what's coming in, right?
Okay.
And then we match it to the specific directory. So, for example, if it's EN US, we have an EN US template. And again, all that syncing is done. So the only localization bits that are actually checked into GitHub are the English ones,
Okay.
right? And then at build time, Jenkins does the sync with credit. and to download all the languages that we support or whatever, which is just Italian for now. And it actually looks pretty cool. No, sorry, wrong one. No, I'm too used to going to Zen test. Yeah. So we have a language switcher in the top corner here, so you can switch to Italian. So, map analista. Yeah.
You also just mentioned the advantages of using microservices. So I know it was mentioned like last time.
Yeah. So I guess the advantage of using microservices, yeah, I mean we could have built all this as a monolith, right? But if you look at the architecture diagram, it actually made more sense to split it out in the kind of classic domain-driven development, right? So especially for things like the badges service and the Salesforce service, right? Now I know Martin Feller in a pure advising on microservices will say you should start with a monolith and then decompose it, right? But beware general advice, right? Every project is different, all requirements are different, right? For us, this suited us to build this out.